Let me welcome on board Mr. R.C. Bhargava, the chairman at Maruti Suzuki, and try and understand more about Maruti's positioning now with 10 years of Make in India and the kind of EV evolution that they're on the cusp of. Mr. Bhargava, great to have you on ET Now today. As India celebrates 10 years of Make in India initiative, tell us how the last decade has been for the Indian auto industry. And how does the Make in India initiative, positively influence the growth and development of the Indian automobile industry?
One of the very major changes which came about in this country was when the Modi government in 2014 decided that manufacturing in India had to be given very high priority if the country was going to progress, remove poverty, create employment, etc. And the Make in India campaign was started essentially to give this kind of impetus to manufacturing in India. We've had the PLI scheme, which has made a massive change in the manufacturing environment. As a result of all this, I think we have seen that the world is now recognizing that India is actually possibly the best place to go and make investments in manufacturing, in de-risking their supply chains, in this China plus one approach to de-risking. And we are seeing that the number of foreign companies which are manufacturing in India is growing. Okay, at the same time, I must say that overall, now manufacturing is still not going as fast as it should. And I think the ball is entirely in the court of Indian entrepreneurs who have to recognize that today the environment is very favorable for manufacturing in India, but they have now to take the initiative and change the approach to management, to raising productivity, to involving workers and the entire team of employees into a single team which will drive manufacturing, raise productivity, improve quality. And if they do that, and with the government support which is now readily forthcoming, I think we should see a much faster rate of growth happening.
Right. Morning, Mr. Bhargava, given your advocacy for tax incentives, how crucial do you think they will be for the automotive market's evolution, and any specific initiatives or incentives that you think could significantly boost the local manufacturing and investment climate?
I'm glad you raised this question because I do believe that going forward, modification and simplification in the tax structure is going to be crucial for giving that extra impetus, which will create the demand, which will then in turn drive investments and manufacturing. Most developed countries today have, for example, a VAT system or a sales tax system, which does not differentiate very much between different products. Europe has a flat VAT system, more or less, very little difference. The USA has almost a flat sales tax system. Japan is similar. Now in India, we have still got a legacy of the past. And the GST range is from 5% and goes all to almost 48%. And there are various groups and categories in between. I think there are many people in government who have been speaking about the need for rationalization. The issue in India is, of course, that this kind of rationalization requires not only the central government to be convinced of it, but it requires all the states also to join in the same decision. Because the GST Council is a state finance minister council with the central government in it, and decisions require that all must be on board. So I think the next phase of manufacturing in India and what is going to give a push will include the issue of tax simplification, GST simplification, states looking at slightly longer term to increase revenues, not through high rates of taxation, but through higher rates of production and sales and employment creation.
Right. And which fuel technologies do you foresee having the most significant impact on the Make in India initiative over the next years? And what trends do you expect in the market penetration for these particular technologies?
We are not like countries which have reached now a plateau where growth is very little, where everything is stable. We have to provide for all the inputs which are needed for a growth economy. And that's the difference. Now, in a growth economy, we cannot confine ourselves to any one single fuel or energy source. We have to tap all our sources. We have to look at what are the natural resources in India, where do we have advantages, what sources of new energy can be tapped, which will give us clean energy, which will give us renewable energy, which will reduce our dependence on imports and things like that. That is why, like solar energy in India has a huge potential. We are growing that rapidly. I think we have to look at biofuels in a big way because we have the largest animal population in India. We have the largest agricultural kind of waste which we have in India, which we are in many ways today misutilizing and in fact creating problems by burning agricultural waste. All of that can be used as an energy source. So I think going forward, one of the areas which will require more and more attention is the development of different forms of energy, the different sources of energy, keeping in mind the goal of getting to net zero, of reducing dependence on imports, of maximizing what will create employment and opportunities in the rural areas. And I think all of that is possible in India because we are different from most of the Western countries.
Okay. And with states like Karnataka proposing a tax relief for hybrid vehicles, what's your perspective on the role of state governments in promoting hybrid technology, and how do you believe this can support the overall growth of the automotive industry? And we also understand that an official announcement is still awaited. What's your take?
You know, my information on this is from sources which you control. I do not have any direct link to the Karnataka government. I cannot know what the Karnataka government is actually doing or what they're actually planning. And I have only read in the newspapers. I do know that UP has done this. I know that many states are possibly considering doing this. But considering is a different matter from doing. And I can only hope that states will follow what UP has done. And whether it's Karnataka or any other state, we would welcome such steps taken to encourage different forms of technology use and different forms of meeting the energy goals of this country and this net zero goals, because use of different technologies which are better than just petrol or diesel are absolutely essential if we are going to get to our target of net zero and prevent high pollution in the intervening years.
Right. So, how is it that you anticipate the festive season sales to shape up this year, and what trends do you think one would see in consumer preferences?
You know, every year, of course, the festival season is something to which all car manufacturers look forward to, because that is when there is a massive move towards higher buying. This year, particularly, that excitement about the festive season is there very much so, because, as you rightly said just now, sales in the period from April to now have been quite muted. And all our hopes are centered on the festival season, driving up sales so that this year does not end up flat or with very marginal growth. So let us see what happens in the festival season. I do hope that customers will get out of their, what should I say, hesitation in taking decisions and will come out in large numbers and buy cars.
All right, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for sharing with us your thoughts. And clearly, that's the word coming in from Mr. R.C. Bhargava, saying that the world is recognizing that India is now the best place to invest in when it comes to manufacturing, and that the tax simplification is only going to give a push to manufacturing in the country. On that note, very quick break. Be right back.
There comes a time when your heart calls for you to arise. Plant your feet solid into the ground. Decide your own limits. And then break right through them. Become something more. It's my time to rise.